Welcome to another insightful and vibrant conversation with a impactful woman who is making waves in our human society. Robin and I are extremely thrilled week after week to sit down and chat with these powerful women who are in touch with their humanity and who are fueled by a deeper purpose than just their career. Women investing in women is about the time, the resources, the compassion, the support, the nurturing, the mentoring we give and we receive as women so that we lift each other up, we amplify each other's voices, and we create space for each other. It's not just about money. It's about all of those intangible things that makes our life that much richer. Because remember, ladies, the quality of a woman's life is directly correlated to the strength and the humanity of her sisterhood. So we are keenly committed to building that sisterhood professionally, personally, societally, because we as women need it, and we only succeed when we lift each other up. Take it away, Robin, to introduce our amazing guest today.
All right. I am so excited to introduce Scharrell Jackson. I just met her a couple of weeks ago at a Leadership Global Women's Conference and Retreat, and she was one of the presenters, and I was completely blown away and amazed by her as a person and the work she's doing. Scharrell is a high-performance leadership coach and an international keynote speaker and has a resume as long as your arm. And what really caught my attention is a company she started called Leadership in Heels. And so, Scharrell, tell us about Leadership in Heels and a little bit about yourself and what drives you and motivates you for helping and strengthening and uplifting women.
Absolutely. First, thank you, Katz. Thank you, Robin, for the opportunity to appear on the show. I think what you guys are doing and women investing in women is directly aligned with my heartstrings, and I'm happy to participate in it, which dovetails into your question, Robin, and why I even started Leadership in Heels. You know, for over 30 years, I worked in corporate America as a C-level executive, a partner, chief operating and financial operator in male-dominated environments. In fact, I was a member of one of the top 100 CPA firms in the nation. And when I first started going to the major firm event, I was one of 2 women in the room, and my entire tenure there, the only African American. And I knew that given my career background working in manufacturing, distribution, real estate, construction, professional services, and a host of other industries throughout my tenure, where I was always the only woman in the room, that there was a gap well before diversity, inclusion, and belonging became a buzzword, right? And I wanted to create a space for women to come and gain the confidence, the courage, and the tools they needed to create and break that glass ceiling and get a seat and a voice at the table. And what I recognize is that we lead our lives as if we have to bifurcate our personal and our professional life. Like we have to choose. And I know that we don't. So I wanted to create a safe space for women to come, talk about the matters of the heart personally, professionally, and in the community, and provide them a safe space where they could grow personally and professionally, and ultimately go for whatever it is that we want. And so that's what caused me to start Leadership in Heels some 8 years ago while I was still in corporate America. Now I'm an entrepreneur, but that's why I started it. And it's still going today. In fact, we have an event on November 30th. So thank you so much.
That is so interesting to hear. I can completely relate to it as a young CFO for a Fortune 100 company at 32. I know what it felt like, right? Being a woman, being the only woman in the room, and running my own company now and having lived that life, God, 30 years ago. So I can see that. I can see what motivates you and the people you see continue to inspire you to do what you do. One of the things you said resonated for me, that women think they can only have a personal life or a professional life. And that notion comes from the societal conditioning and upbringing. So in some parts of the world, that is the norm. In some other parts of the world, women can't even have careers. In other parts of the world, women are career women and they are raised to have it all. So when you are talking about women who have not had the luxury, how do you help change their mindset? Because their mindset is what's holding them back, not their capabilities.
Absolutely. You are so right, Cassim. What I've found is that it starts with exactly what you said, and that's how we think. We have been conditioned in some instances, cultures, ethnicity groups, places around the world to believe something that just really is not necessarily true for us. And so positioning us to first get clear on our end game. And when I think about end game excellence, it's not the transactions you want to close, but the life that you want to live. And once you get clarity on that, by walking these women through what it is that you truly want, not do you want to be married or have a job or make so much money, but how do you want to experience your life? And then once I support women in gaining clarity, which I believe is one of the primary pillars of high performance leadership, then we can navigate through decisive excellence. So when you start to think about, all right, well, if I want to live this life of impact and abundance, or I want to have a life of peace, I want to be successful. Well, what does that look like? Because if you start to make your decisions on your end game for your life, you can slowly start to dilute some of the cultural things that have been embedded in you, the thoughts, and learn how to shift your mind to make decisions in alignment with what you want versus what you've been told. And so that's the way that I work with the individuals that I'm working with to help them to make these decisions in alignment with what they want and slowly start to eliminate some of the cultural norms that they've built under or some of their own belief systems, or to try and deal with some of the barriers that have been set by others.
You know, I'm absolutely loving what I'm hearing, helping women find clarity, help them have an end game in mind, all of these things that you have to have if you're going to have any kind of success in life or feel good about your life. I'm curious to know, are there some commonalities with the many, many women that you've dealt with and helped them find their voice, find their place, find their path? Are there some commonalities across the board that you've seen? And what are some of the differences that you've seen that different women or different groups of women might tackle?
Yes, one of the commonalities that I see and that I continue to just be admired by is that all of these women are ambitious. They're ambitious regardless of what the role is or the title that they may be carrying. They have a desire to be the best version of themselves, and they truly want that. Another commonality is for those women who have not necessarily excelled at decisive excellence, there's a sense of insecurity. There's some fear there. And for whatever reason it has crept into their life, they're making decisions in alignment with that fear versus allowing that fear to have a voice and not a vote in what they do. So regardless of our background, our age, our race, our ethnicity, or even our position in life, we all have a desire, at least the women that I'm working with, to be a better version of ourselves. And there's a level of ambition there. And yet there's some fear. And I will also say that there's a bit of confusion. There's this lack of clarity on how do I navigate my life in alignment with what I really want. And so that's the commonality that I'm finding, whether it's the CEO of an organization or a domestic engineer that's taking care of their family. They're lacking that clarity. There's a bit of insecurity around if they should or how they will or whether or not they'll succeed. And yet there's a desire and an ambition that is embedded in their heart and their mind. And I think some of the differences are our backgrounds. I mean, some women have been told that they can. And to your point, Kat, some have been told that they can't. And so the mindset that's been rooted in the women, whether it's through relationships, culture, friends, or environment, has played a major role in how they think. And as a result of that, the thought process plays a major role in their ability to navigate through their life in alignment with what they want. So a huge differentiator has a lot to do with our backgrounds, our upbringing, and the stereotypes. And then, of course, there's differentiators that play in our role just in terms of our race and ethnicity, because I work with women in all backgrounds. I have a very diverse portfolio of individuals. And there's cultural backgrounds and norms. And then there's societal issues, depending on what part of the country that these women are coming from, that are significant differentiators as well.
So as I am hearing you speak, I realize ambitious women still want to have a family and a career.
Absolutely.
And with such high divorce rates and single parents, women are the ones raising the family. Women not only have to raise the family, they also become caregivers. They become the meat in the sandwich, right? You have kids, and then you have parents and in-laws you have to get taken care of. And caregiving is one of those roles women play, whether we like it or not.
Right.
Globally, women do $1 billion worth of work for family and community every day for no pay, right? So with this reality, what advice do you have for women to balance? Almost seems like the wrong word, because balance requires you have to put both in equal parts. And when we talk work and life, we leave the unpaid work completely out. So I always like to look at it as harmonizing, balancing paid and unpaid work so that you can harmonize life. So when we come from a place of harmonizing and having harmony for a woman, for her to live her potential, what advice would you have, regardless of where in the world the woman is sitting?
You know, again, I'm going to go back to first, we really do need to get clear on our end game. So for me, the cadence that I have for my life drives every decision that I make. And to your point, there is not the desire for the balance because I live in decisive excellence. In other words, I live a life that is coined by and driven by peace, impact, abundance, low stress, great health, and joy. And because that is the way I am choosing to live and experience my life, I make my decisions in alignment. So when I'm making a decision for my career, I'm not going to compromise my stress for impact or abundance. When I'm looking at a relationship, I'm not going to compromise my health for a relationship or for what I feel might give me temporary joy. In other words, as a woman, like you mentioned, I am and was a single woman in corporate America as a COO and CFO, raising 3 Black boys in South Orange County, California. And I recognize that for me, it started with my self-talk. I needed to make sure that every day that I believed in myself, and I had to shift my mind from that insecure little girl to that woman of power by starting off with what I told myself. Your morning cadence plays a major role in the dictation of how your day is going to go. So I set the cadence for the day. Good morning, amazing. Today is going to be amazing. How come? Because I said so. And so one of the bits of advice I would give is that we exercise positive self-talk. The other thing that I would say is that when we are raising a family, running a business, we also have to remember that we matter. And so self-care is critical. We must carve out time for ourselves just like we do for others. And it can't be something that we're rushing through or scurrying through. We need to know that we are a priority. So when you think about your positive self-talk, you think about having clarity on how you want to spend your day. You understand that you matter and your self-care is important. And I would also say, put down the technology when you start your day. Start your day with yourself. I start my day with God. I pray. I have a prayer partner. But the start of the day plays a major role in how we're going to be able to deal with the graceful disruptions that come in and how we want to feel and experience the day. So pay close attention to that. And then do things like we're doing here. Make sure that you have a tribe and that you have opportunities to learn and grow by listening to these amazing podcasts like Women Investing in Women, and that you have people around you that will continue to elevate you and carry you. I mean, there's a host of things that we could talk about, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but I would say at least those are 4 insightful things that we should practice every day. And that for me is prayer and meditation. It is my positive self-talk. It's making sure I exercise self-care. And then I'm always listening to something that can motivate and inspire and lift me up and give me tools to have a better day and a greater tomorrow. And I think we need to implement that in our daily lives.
That is amazing. If we could, well, we are going to, can that and just plaster it on the billboards everywhere. That would change so many people's lives. So I'm curious to know, was there a point in your life, whether it was just a slow evolution or if you had an epiphany, where you changed your self-talk and you made these decisions? I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to start speaking nicely to myself, et cetera, et cetera. So where was the shift? Was it a slow evolution when you were a young girl, or was it like an epiphany? And what helped you make that shift? And I asked that question so that the women listening to this podcast can get some clues on helping them evolve or have an epiphany.
Yeah, absolutely, Robin. I will say this. I recently had the privilege and the pleasure of being part of an anthology by Dr. Tara Rai Trent, who's known as Oprah's favorite guest. And in that book, I wrote a chapter called A Lasting Impression. And in my chapter, I talk about the individuals in my life on whose shoulders we stand, which is what the book Ubuntu, Ubuntu, I encourage everyone listening to get it, is about. And it's us as contributing authors talking about that very thing. And for me, the pivotal point in the people in our lives who play a major impact in allowing us and supporting us in becoming who it is that we want to be. And so what I learned is through mentorship and this ongoing evolution of clarity is that people matter. And there's been tribes of individuals through my hardships that have walked alongside of me to remind me that where I am in this moment is not the end of my story. And so I continue to evolve into a high-performing leader because of mentors and individuals who I gave permission to support me along my journey. And so there have been ongoing shifts and pivots where the clarity has become more and more precise. And so I can say that when I was young and struggling with insecurity, there was an individual in my life that walked me through healing. And so I was no longer insecure, but not necessarily confident in asking for what I wanted. And so I had an individual walk me through setting boundaries and amplifying my voice. And then I had an individual walk me through my career. So there have been different pivotal moments in my life. But once I opened up my heart and my mind to allowing people to mentor me, that created the shift. And once I decided to invest in coaching and really watching podcasts and listening for continuous learning, it allowed it to be sustainable. So I don't know that there's a particular date, but there's definitely was a process to get there.
Life is a journey, isn't it? And continuous improvement is not just for work. We are each a work in process. So I am so happy to hear you talk in those terms. When women start driving their ambition and going after building a life, there is such an emphasis on the masculinity we embody. How do women make sure that they keep their femininity front and center too? Because in the intersection of that yin and yang, in the balance of the masculine and feminine, is the real power of a woman. What advice do you have for women to be able to balance that and not lose their natural gifts of femininity in pursuit of that prosperity and ambition?
I think it's important that first we get clear on who we are and how we want to be seen, and then we align ourselves accordingly. For me personally, I enjoy the femininity of a woman. And I wanted to make sure that it was very clear that I know that I can work like a dog and think like a man and act like a lady and I look like a woman. But at the end of the day, I'm a girl and I like to be treated that way. And so I decided not to compromise my show up when I was working in accounting and everybody wanted to wear the sterile suits and the white collar shirts. I like jewelry. I like big earrings. My hair could be long one day and I could be rocking short another. And what I had to do was know that people might say something, but I'm not but defined by what other people think. And that's, I'm sure you probably have done shows on this, but understanding how to live your authentic life and conquer that imposter syndrome plays a major role in you staying true to who you are. For me, the femininity of a woman is important in terms of who I am and my brand, which is why I started Leadership in Heels. But it's for all genres of people, because as we know, there's a community of individuals that identify in a myriad of ways. And it's important that how you want to identify is how you show up, and that you don't let the world customize you into becoming who they want you to be. And you have to be able to push through those insecurities and push through that authentic leadership and gain the support and have individuals around you who can help lift you up when you're feeling afraid. And so what I would say to women who want to maintain femininity and our identity of who you are is, first, you get clear on who it is that you want to be and how you want to be branded. And then you stay true to that. And when you start to feel a fear, I say this, give yourself 3 minutes. Feel the fear and do it afraid. But whatever you do it. And also, I would say that pay attention to our tone and our style, because we can be labeled as aggressive or assertive, but also know that some of those terms are leadership qualities. So as long as you're bringing the best version of yourself, it's okay to be assertive and aggressive. I mean, after all, who would want the war to be called upon the world and our president be timid? We need assertive, aggressive women, but do it in a way that always allows your light to shine and have people around you who can check you if you're dimming your light.
Oh, I'm loving that. I'm just loving every sentence that is coming out of your mouth. It is very clear that you've had a lot of challenges in life. And one of the favorite things that I like to ask a guest is, for example, it could either be in when you were, functioning in the finance area, or even in starting Leadership in Heels. What are some of the challenges you faced? You talked a lot about internal challenges, but were there some external challenges and also internal challenges that you had to deal with in functioning in this finance world, and then in starting Leadership in Heels?
Yeah, there's a lot of barriers to entry. I mean, there have been individuals who betted against my success. And there are times where you're in the room and they're all male and everybody's ready to get up and go to lunch and you're not invited. There are times where you make recommendations in the boardroom and you're recommending opportunities, or you're sharing your feedback, and then somebody else takes your very own words and coins it as if they're their own. I mean, the barriers to entry are thick, and your results speak for themselves. But what you have to do is you have to take back that which is yours. And so for me, especially in a meeting where somebody might repeat exactly what I say, I might turn to that individual and say, thank you so much, X, for reiterating my point of view. I'm so glad to know that we are in agreement, as opposed to sitting back and being upset that somebody else wanted to take that which is yours. There have been barriers to entry where I've walked into rooms and I could see the disappointment in the individual I was meeting with face when they saw that I was an African-American woman and they had assumed that I was going to look different. So the barriers to entry, I mean, we could have a whole show on that, Robin. But what I will say is that whether it's been in leading, because I speak different in terms of style, as an African-American woman, we're far more direct. And so having to be able to meet people where they are without posing or code switching has been a barrier to entry as well. Because sometimes people want you to show up the way they need you to show up versus you showing up in alignment with who you are. And so whether it's about communication, whether it's about opportunity, whether it's about just your own individual sentiments and how people make you feel, or things that have been said about you in front of you and behind your back, all of those things are challenges that can cause us to want to shrink. But what we have to do is keep true to who it is we are, what we bring to the table, and know ultimately that when we are giving our best, that it will yield a high return. The key is that we don't give up, even when we're facing barriers to entry.
Yes, giving up is the only failure point. Everything else is an opportunity to learn and grow. So you are absolutely right, Scharrell. As we bring this to a close, it's hard to imagine how quickly time flies. What is the best way for our audience to reach out to you if they want to talk to you, want to talk about your program, whatever it is they have questions about? How can they reach you?
Well, the best way to learn about me, if you're a social media person, I'm on Instagram. It's at leadership.heels, HEELS. Or you can reach me on my website, and that is my name, ScharrellJackson.com, SCHARRELLJACKSON.com. And then I'm also on LinkedIn under my name. So those are the best ways to reach me: social media, LinkedIn, or my website.
Thank you so much, Scharrell. This has been an amazing conversation. And I know Robin and I have enjoyed talking to you, and our audience are going to love the nuggets of wisdom and blueprint or call to action you have shared. So we look forward to making sure that we continue these conversations and bring you and keep you in our Women Investing in Women community. And as we wrap this up, to the ladies out there, remember, giving up is not an option. You don't give up on yourself. And if you think you're at that point, reach out to one of the women who are so happy to invest in you. We are, after all, women investing in women. There will be somebody to make sure that you find your strength, your courage, so that you can go on and you never give up on yourself. We need each other, and we're going to take care of each other, and we are going to lift each other.